Welcome back to this lecture. So in this lecture we are going to build the FD calculator application. So let me show you the final product that we are going to build. So this is our FD calculator. You can see when I just hover over it, then you can see there is a nice background in this particular card. And we have three fields here, means the three input type. The first is actually going to accept the principal amount. Then the second is for the interest rate. And the third one is tenure in years, which actually how many years you want. And the fourth one is actually our button, which is input type button. And then we have a result, which actually displays the final output of the maturity amount. So here if I just change the value to like 5 lakh, I think it's like 50. Okay, so it has 5 zeros, so it is actually lakh. And if I just click on calculate, then you will see the rate of interest is actually you earn like 33,250 rupees for 1 year. And if we change the rate of interest like 7.0, it's also going to accept a value which is like integer type or maybe a float value. So if I click on it, then you can see 5.3 means you going to earn the interest rate is like 35,000 for 1 year. And if I increase here too, then the interest will be increased to 70,000. So this will be the application. If I refresh, then the values will be going to into default, which is a placeholder text. Okay, so we are going to build this application. So first open your Visual Studio. So you can see I have already done it. I have actually created 3 files inside of this particular folder. So here we have 3 files. All of them are empty. So I'm going to click on this so that you can see more clearly. And also I'm going to increase the zoom little bit. So coming back to our index.html. So here I will be going to add the code, which is sign of exclamation, which is an Emmet abbreviation. So if I click on it, then we get our placeholder text. So if I type here like FD calculator, actually I have given the name to our application, which is FD calculator. So this is a basic template given by Visual Studio Code for the responsiveness. Like 3 meta tags has been added. So these are actually used for the responsivity purpose, and these are actually like compatibility for the Edge browser. And it is actually a Unicode character format which has lot more character set, more than 255 character set I think, which is more powerful than the ASCII character set. So these are pretty basics, but we don't need to worry about these because we need to build our application, which is FD calculator. So first we need to add some HTML elements. So I'm going to minimize it because we need to get the reference what we are actually going to build. And first here I will be adding a one h1 element just to check whether everything is working properly or not. So hello FD, I just going to write this text, and here we have a live server extension. You should install this live server extension because it will make our life little bit easy. So if I click on go or live, and then we will see output moment. So here we can see everything is working fine. So another thing I want to do is actually link the CSS part of the code. So I'm going to write here style.css, and then also I'm going to add the script tag to add the script. So here I will be type src, and then here I will be adding the script.js. So all of these now are connected with our index.html. So let's get started by adding the element inside the HTML part. So first I need a div. So here I will be using a div, and inside of this div, or I can use a shortcut which is by default available inside the Visual Studio Code, which is Emmet. So if I just type it here container like dot container, and if I press tab, then I get a div tag that has a class container. So this will actually little bit for the faster. So I'm not going to use too much Emmet in this particular course because this course is for the beginner purpose only, means beginner can easily follow along. So I'm not going to confuse you by using the Emmet, although I'm using a just small Emmet like shortcut so that it will be easy for me to complete the course more quickly. So after getting this container, it's time to actually h1 tag, which is for the heading. So I'm going to add the h1 tag because this is actually an heading FD calculator. So we want to do that. So that is the reason we need to add here an h1 tag, and inside of this I need to add the text FD calculator. So this is our FD calculator, and inside of this we need to add the div element. So it's going to like div, and inside the div we are going to use a label. So here I'm going to type the label, and inside of this first we need to add the principal and then the text, which is going to be principal amount. Okay, so now the principal amount is done. Then after the label we need an input. So input actually is going to be like input type. So here I will be using an input, and inside of the type we need a number. So I'm going to add the number. Then I will be going to use the ID parameter, means I'm going to specify the ID, not a parameter. So here I will be typing principal, so this one, the smaller one, and then we need to add the placeholder tag, which is enter the principal amount. So this marks the actually completion of our. So if I go to the end, you can see it is completed. So this is what we have to do for the FD calculator. The first element, so if I just control save it, and if we see it like the output, you can see this is our first principal amount. So we need to actually copy and paste it one more time so that it will save a little bit our time. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy it and I will be pasting it 2 more times, and then I will be changing the content of it. So if I just save it, and you will see we have 3 of them because we need 3. So let me just change their label name and their IDs. So the first one is label, the second is actually for the interest rate, and then the label I'm going to change it into interest rate. Okay, so this will be our interest rate, and I also need to specify the class here so that we can actually style it when. So it's going to be like form group, because I actually forgot it to enter it. So I'm going to also enter it for the second div. So here we need to also add. Okay, actually I copied the wrong thing. Again I need to copy it, and then I will be pasting it here one more time. And then for this one also, and then here we need to leave the input type as number because we are working with number, and here we need to add the interest rate. So I'm going to copy it, and then we need to change the placeholder, enter the interest rate. So I'm going to remove the amount. Okay, so this marks the second one, and then we are need to change the third one. This is for the tenure, so it's kind of like tenure, and then it's label text which will be displayed, and then we need to specify the ID. So here we are going to specify the ID like tenure, you can see, and then we need to change the label, which is enter the tenure in years. So enter tenure, I'm going to short it as tenure in years. So if I just save it and let me see it, so you can see now we have 3 input elements inside our project. Now the last we need a button. So if I just go to there and let me see, this is a button, and we need another label to display the result. So coming back to the Visual Studio Code, so you can see this is the container, the main container. Then we have our h1 tag. Okay, then we have form groups. So we have 3 form groups of having a class form group. So means we have 3 div. Inside of this we have label and input, and then we need a button. So it should remain inside the container. The button, all the things will be added inside the container, because later on we need to create a card and then put all of this inside the card, like just you can see it here. Okay, so again coming back to Visual Studio Code, so here I will be using a button, and inside of the button I'm going to specify the ID, and I will be using a calculate btn, short for the button, and then we are going to specify the class for the styling. Class is equal to, and then here I will be using a calculate btn. Actually I have added a cal only, calculate btn, but at this time I need to specify the hyphen and make it as smaller one. Now here you will be seeing that we have used 2 selectors. The first is used for the JavaScript purpose, because we are going to use it to calculate the logic part, and this one is used for the styling inside the CSS file. Okay, so that is why I have specified here 2 ID selector. means the first is ID selector and the second one is class selector. Then we need a paragraph element. So if I just do it here and type it the ID, and then inside that I will be using a result. Again I am using here a ID, and then we need to specify the class. So this class one is used for the JavaScript purpose, and then I will be here using a maturity amount. Okay, so this marks the completion of the HTML part. So if I see it and just save it, and you can see we have this little button. So we need to add a text inside this button. So again I'm going to here, and actually I forgot to add the, so I will be here writing a calculate. Save it, and you can see we have all of this. So our next step is to style this particular calculator by using the style sheet. So coming back to Visual Studio Code, and now I'm going to open the style.css file. So inside of that we need to provide a lot of style. So I'm going to type it, and then I will be explaining the code. So first I need to actually select the body element, and here I will be writing some code, means typing the code. So first we need a font family here. So the font family we are going to use an Arial, and I will be using a sans serif. Okay, so this is what, and the background color we are going to add it here like a simple hashtag F2 and F2. So this is a little bit of gray, I will say it, and then we need to provide the display flex. Okay, and then I will be here using a justify content center. Okay, and then I will be using align item center, and then I will be using here a height attribute which is like 100 VH. Okay, so this will actually makes our container at the center of the screen. Then I'm going to select the container. So I'm actually going to copy the container so that I didn't make any typo while typing the code. So this is our container, and inside of the container I'm going to add the background color. So background color I'm going to use like hashtag FFF for the white. Okay, and then I will be using a border radius. So border radius is going to be 5 pixel, and then we need to specify the padding. So padding is going to be like from all sides is going to be 20 pixel, and then I need to specify the box shadow. So box shadow is like 0 pixel, and then 0 pixel, and then we need to specify the 2 pixel, and I will be using a RGBA function to specify the color. So 198 from the red, then we need a green, so which is like 193. So 193, and then in the next one we need to specify the 193 again, and then the alpha value is going to be like 0.1. So this will be the box shadow property, and then I will be using a max width property. So the max width is going to be like 400 pixel, and then the width is going to be like 100%. So here I will be using 100%. So if I save it, and you can see now we have our card at the center of the screen. Now the next step is actually we need to create the dot container hover class. So I'm going to copy this one again and paste it here, and here I will be adding a pseudo class element hover. So all of the code will remain same, so but I am going to remove this padding or also this max width and width property. We just need a one property which is box shadow, so that we can create this effect like whenever we hover it, so there is a box shadow is actually increasing, means the shadow of the box become little bit more darker. Okay, so we need to do that. So here we are just need to change the values. So this 0 pixel become 5, and also we need to make it 5, and then this one is going to be like 10 pixel, and the like our hover effect, this one is becomes 0, also this one becomes 0 and 0. So if I save it, and if I again go back and check it, then you can see the border is actually, means the box shadow is actually changing. So we have done with the container code of the style. So coming back to the Visual Studio Code, it's time to actually code the H1, so which is having a heading of like FD calculator. So I'm directly using the element selector because right now we have only one H1. So inside the H1, first we need to specify the font size. So font size is going to be 24 pixel, and then we need to specify the text align property, and we also need a text decoration property, so there should be an underline. And after that I'm going to add the margin bottom is from 20 pixel. So if I save it and see, you can see we have this FT calculator is now styled. Then we need to style the input elements, or we can say that we are going to directly style it by using the form group, because we have added a form. Okay, so we are going to style this. So coming back to the style.css, so here I will be writing a form hyphen group, and then we need to first target the label. Okay, so let me start this, and I didn't make any typo, like the label name is label. Yes, okay, everything is perfect. So first I need to make it like a group, like display block, because right now you can see they all are actually coming in the same line horizontal, because these elements have not a block. So block 1 actually take the whole row, I will say it, because if you know the basic of the HTML. So we are going to change its display property. So coming back to the Visual Studio Code, so first we need to make it as block. Okay, and then the second property we need font weight. So font weight is we are going to use the bold, or you can use the bolder as well if you like it. Then I need to provide the margin bottom. So margin bottom is going to be like 5 pixel. And then we need to do one more styling, which is form group, and inside of that we need to provide the margin bottom is 10 pixel. Okay, so this will be the form group, and then we need to add the form group input. So let me just copy this one and remove the extra spacing. This is a form group, and then we need to use the input. Inside the form group, all the inputs we are actually targeting, and first we need to specify the width. It's going to be like 95%, and after that we need to specify the padding. So padding from all the side is going to be like 10 pixel, and then I'm going to be using a font size property. So font size is going to be like 16 pixel, and after that we need to use the border property. So there should be a border from all the sides, so 1 pixel, and we are going to use a solid border. This is a solid one, and we need to provide the color. So it is going to be like CC, and then we need to specify the border radius property. So border radius is going to be like 5 pixel. So this will be the input group, means the form group of the input element from the from group. So if I go back to then you can see our application is taking the style just like we want to do it. Okay, so we have now this light gray border, or when we click on it we get this default styling, the active code. Next we need to add the code for the calculate button, and then this result one. So again coming back to the Visual Studio Code, so first time we'll be adding the code for the result. So where is the result? So this is a result. Okay, so I'm just targeting the result, and inside of that first we need to add the font size property, and we are going to add the text line property. So we are going to make it into center, and then the margin top property, which is going to be like 10 pixel. Okay, so now the next part is to add the code for the button. So our calculate button, calculate, and then we need to specify the hyphen btn. I think I am adding the correct one, so I'm just going to copy it so that I didn't make any spelling mistake, otherwise it will not going to work. And then we need to open its code bracket. So I'm adding here a padding. So padding is like 10 pixel. After that we need to add 20 pixel. So this not pad, it's like padding. Okay, and then we need to add a background color. So background color, we need a nice bluish color. So 79ff. Not add the red, we need a hashtag 2979ff. So this will give us a blue color. And then we need a color, which is a font color property. FFF hashtag, first we need to specify hash, not hashtag. And after that we need to specify border is going to be none. Okay, and then the font weight. We're going to increase the font weight to like bold, and if I just use the bolder one just to make it a little bit different, then border radius is going to be like 5 pixel. And after that we need to specify the cursor property. So the cursor property is going to be like pointer. Okay, so this will be the default coding. Now again I'm going to copy it and paste it, and I will be removing everything except the color property because we need to change it. So I will be using here a 4 and then 8 capital A and FF, not DD, it's like FF, also the hash symbol. So this is a new color, little bit darker than the previous one. So if I save it and let me see the output screen, so you can see it's becoming changing. The color is not changing. Okay, we need to make it a little bit lighter, I think. So if I go back to the Visual Studio Code and if I say it here, we can change it like with this one also. Okay, if I just hover over it, so it's actually the default. Okay, so what I did actually, it's actually overriding the code because I didn't specify here a hover. So I'm going to specify the hover. First, let me undo it, the color that I have used previously, and here I'm going to specify the hover. Okay, save it, and if I just go back, you can see now the color is actually changing. So this one is actually working on the URL part, and it is actually working on the live plugin. So it's a different, so almost same. So now it's time for the JavaScript part. First we need to get the ID elements of this whole field, also the button, and then we need to calculate the logic and then need to display the result inside this result element, which is a paragraph element. So let's start with the JavaScript part. So coming back to Visual Studio Code, so let first open our JavaScript file. So first we need to create here a function. So it's going to have function which is calculate maturity amount. I name my function, then we need to specify the braces and then its body. So the thing is here we need to actually first get the input values. So first here I will be writing and get the input values, get the inputs, or I can say that they get the input values from the form elements. Okay, and the first we need to do it here const and principal. So instead of using get element directly, first we need to use a function called parse float, and inside of this we need to get the element. So I am typing here document dot get element by ID, and inside of the we need to specify the bracket and a single quote, and then I will be typing the name of the ID element principal. Okay, and then we need to get a value. So here we need to type it after the bracket dot value. Okay, so this is what we need to do. Then I'm going to copy it because we need to get the element ID of the two more. So I need to change it here interest rate, and here I will be also typing the interest. Okay, so we get the second ID, and then the third one is tenure and document, and here we need to specify the tenure as well. So now we get the elements, then we need to perform the calculation. So here I will be again typing the code, perform the calculation, and inside we need to create the another const variable which is maturity amount is equal to, then the logic which is principal multiply with the principal amount inside of the bracket principal multiply with interest rate, and then we need to multiply it with the tenure as well, and then we need to divide this value by 100. So this is a logic for calculating the maturity amount, and then we need to display the result. So here I will be typing the comment display the result, and instead of that again we need to use the document dot get element by ID, and we are going to specify the result, which is our paragraph element, and inside of that we need to update its inner text value. Inner text is equal to, and then we are here using a template string. So if I use it here like that text, not this one, template string. So here I will be using a maturity amount, and then colon, and then I will be using a dollar symbol, then curly brackets. This is a template string. Then here I need to type the maturity amount dot to fixed, and inside of this we need to specify here 2, and then we need to actually terminate it. So this is what, so let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this is the final code of the result, which will display the result. Now if we run this application, we didn't able to calculate it because we have fetched the IDs of all the 4 elements, but we have our 5 elements. The button ID is not fetched, means we need to add the listener to this our button. Okay, so after the end of this function, we need to add the listener to our button outside of this function. So attach the listener, attach the event listener to the calculate button. Okay, so let me add it. So first we need to use the document dot get element by ID. So we have actually specified the button ID, which is calculate btn. I didn't make any typo. Let me first check it. So calculate btn, copy it, and this I want to paste it. Then we need to add the event listener by adding dot add event listener. So we are going to add event listener, pressing a tab key, and instead of that we need to specify the click event listener. So here is a click, and then we need to specify a comma, and then calculate maturity amount, which is the name of our function. So we need to call this event. Okay, and after that we need to specify here a terminator. So that's actually marks the completion of the code. If we save it, and then we need to run this application. So if I coming back to the browser, okay, so I'm going to refresh it, and then I will be adding here amount, which is 1 lakh. Okay, so we have 5 zeros. The rate of interest is going to like 6.0, and then the tenure is actually like 1 year. So if I click on calculate, then you can see we get this whole big string. So it's actually not working. I think there is something problem. So if I change the value again, like 5 lakh, you can see we have 6.0. If I just add here only 6, calculate it, then we are actually multiplying it, so it's actually not working. There is something problem, so we need to fix it. So coming back to our Visual Studio Code, so let me see the JavaScript part, because the designing part is done properly, but we are actually facing the problem. So actually here is a problem. We need to actually add the value instead of multiplying. So here we need to add the plus symbol. Okay, so we need to add the principal with the multiplication. So save it, and if I again refresh it, make sure you can see we are actually working on the URL one, which is the live server one. This is actually working on the path one. Okay, so let's again check it by entering the value. So I am actually here entering the 1 lakh again. So we have 5 zeros, then the rate of interest is going to like 6.0, and then the tenure is going to like 1. So if I click on calculate, then you can see now it's actually showing 6,000 interest. So if I change the value to like 7.0, then we get 7,000 rupees of interest, and for 2 years it's going to like 14,000. And if I just increase it here a value like 5 lakh, so you can see here is a 5 lakh, and if I just do it, then you can say we are actually earning 70,000 as an interest rate on 2 years. Okay, so this is the final working code of our FD calculator. So that's it for this lecture. If you like this lecture, then leave a review, and if you face any difficulty, then comment it down. I will definitely try to help you. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture.